Hey, good afternoon. My name is Jeramie Kramer. I'm the sales engineer for Napco Access. And I have a special guest on today who's Andy Phelps from Alarm Lock. And I really hope you enjoy this short 30-minute video that talks about the alarm lock and the wireless lock integrations with our different components. And let's have a look and see what you think. Who is from Alarm Lock and runs different many hats in the division. So Andy, do you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are?
Yes, I'm Andy Phelps. I'm the trainer for the Alarm Lock and Marks division of Napco Security Technologies. I go across the country and train our locksmiths and security professionals in how to use our products that we're going to be talking about today.
Well, that's awesome. So as a part of our call today is we want to talk about the Alarm Lock line, which is native to our CA4K, and how our locks are our own lock. Essentially, we have our own native lock. And so if you want to go into a little bit of detail and share some information on your products, and then we'll talk about our integration, how we work together with Napco Access Pro and the CA4K product, and that'd be great.
Sure. Just got a few little slides here. I want to kind of introduce anybody or reintroduce you to the Networx platform that we have. The Networx locks, as well as the Architech locks, are a wirelessly programmed lock. If you're familiar with our Trilogy legacy locks, you have to walk to the door. You have to plug into the lock using our DO Windows software and a cable and program it, or you can use the data transfer module that's the picture on the right. So with the Networx, one of the benefits is I don't have to walk to the doors anymore. I can actually use my laptop sitting at my desk, and I can program the locks in the building, across a campus, or across the country if needed, if it's set up properly through the network. But in our original basic software, DO Windows, we can have up to 2,000 locks per account. We do have our global lockdown, which means that we can lock down up to 2,000 locks in a single account in about 20 or so seconds. Then if you're not really wanting to go into that hardwired gateway that you have on the network, or the IT department won't allow it, we do have an option for you with the DO Windows software. We have our Networx Lite that uses a USB gateway plugged into a laptop. Now, I still do have to walk to the door or within range of the door, which is about 100 feet or so, and I can program one or multiple locks in a setting. Now, there is no global emergency lockdown with this, okay, with this USB gateway. It is basically a wireless cable, if you want to talk about it that way. So we don't have to actually plug into it. Now, in our DO Windows software, it is basic access control software. There's no access groups. There's no reporting, real-time reporting. There's no notifications or anything like that. But if you just need basic access control with a wireless lock, we can do that. We do use a SQL database. We do have a workstation option if you want multiple computers in the facility to be able to add users and things like that. We have different privileges and separate credentials for those workstations. We can have up to 200 different accounts and so forth. So it is a fairly robust software. It does have a lot of capabilities. So if you're not wanting to step up into that enterprise level at this point, you can do that. Now, one of the good things is I can take the same lock and I can move it over to the CA4K or the MVP or the Air Access or any of the other softwares that Napco offers. And the DO Windows software is free. So it is a good basic starting point for you. If you need more, you need those notifications of doors propped open, people trying to access a door with an invalid credential, things like that, then like I said, we can step up.
So
So yes,
real quick, Andy. So is there a cost for the? I'm assuming the USB would be a charge, just a one-time charge for the
yes,
USB wireless device through
yes.
that to make that work.
Yes, the USB gateway is there is a cost to it. I think the list price is somewhere around 350 or something dollars, something like that. But for the locksmiths, the security professionals, you only have to buy one. If you're maintaining systems for your customers, you don't have to have one for each customer. Like the regular gateways, the hardwired gateways on the network, those are dedicated to a specific account in our any of our softwares. Um, but the USB gateway in DL Windows, as a locksmith or security professional, I can maintain my customers' accounts, adding the users and things like that, and only have to have one USB gateway.
And would one of those USB gateways work for the same site for two users? So if you bought two of them, is there one central database on the computer? I'm assuming you can't sync up databases with DL Windows. I'm assuming software dedicated computer, USB dedicated, so I can't have multiple workstations on the same without paying
No,
for an extra cost.
we can have multiple workstations. Basically, what we do is we set it up to where you have one main computer or an actual IT server where the main database is housed, where the SQL Express or SQL
Oh wow.
Enterprise that you have, and then you connect each outlying workstation to that database through a couple of different options or different ways. And multiple people can access the database, the single database, and work on it. And then when the next person goes in and logs in, they would have those updates. So
Oh, very
yes, we
cool.
can do that. Now, using the USB gateway, probably not the best way to do it because again, you're going to have a laptop because you're going to have to walk to the lock. So I would probably have a single laptop that's dedicated to the DO Windows software and have that USB gateway, with that laptop. Of course, you can have multiple users, different users logging into DO Windows, and again, they would have different privileges. Maybe, one person, maybe in HR, they log in and they can add the users. Security adds them to the locks, but that neither one of those people can actually program the locks. So there
Okay.
are a lot of options with DL Windows.
That's cool. That's really cool that I mean and it's free. And it's
Yes,
so
it is. It is free software.
so I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead.
All right.
Sorry about that. Didn't mean
No,
to
that's okay.
disturb you.
And I always invite the questions. I want to make sure everybody understands what type of locks that we actually offer with the
Okay,
Networx.
perfect.
So the Networx locks, we have the Networx Trilogy version, which looks like our standard legacy locks. You have the exit trims, you have your cylindrical, your mortise. We can do pin only, prox only, or pin and prox versions. And you'll see a couple of options of those or samples of those here on the exit trim. You have a pin only on the far left, and then you have a pin and prox next to it. We do offer pretty much every flavor that you can imagine. Cylindrical mortise, exit bar trim. We do have storefront, aluminum storefront. We have a privacy lock, which is great for those bathrooms, counseling rooms, anywhere where a person in that room would need privacy for a period of time, and that time is selectable. You can use that lock. We have a double-sided for those exterior gates, walk-through gates, so somebody can't reach through the bars on the gate and turn the inside lever. And we also have a net panel. So what this net panel does is it allows you to use the existing electric strike or mag lock or electrified panic bar, whatever it is, and the existing reader, as long as it's a Wiegand style reader. and you just wire that up to our panel, and it has the radio in it that talks back to the gateway. So I don't have to rip all of that existing hardware out. I can utilize it and save some money that way.
And how long have these locks been around? I think everybody has probably seen one of these locks. How long has this lock been around? I mean, I think I've seen it at least 20 years.
Yeah, the legacy locks, the T2 format, which is all keypad programmed, has been around since 1994. The T3 locks, which are the ones that we can use the DL Windows software with, the what we call the sneaker.net locks, we have to walk to them and plug into them. Those have been around since 1997. The Trilogy locks have been around for about 12 or 13 years. The Trilogy Networx, and then the Architect networks have been around for about 5 or 6, maybe 7 years.
That's cool. Thank you.
Mhm. So again, with the trilogies, with the Networx trilogies, we have multiple bit formats that we can use, 26 through 37 bit on your standard HID2 type prox cards, your 125 kilohertz. We can have varying pin lengths from 3 to 6 digits. We also have I-class versions that, again, will read the I-class 13.56 megahertz, 26 through 37 bit. They all are communicated from the software to the lock using a gateway device. We can have up to 50 gateways, hardwired gateways on a Networx system, and each gateway can have up to 63 locks assigned to it. Now that's within about 120, 125 foot range in standard building construction. We have another device that we can add to this gateway. It's called an expander, and we can actually utilize that to extend the radio range, and I can have up to 7 expanders on a single gateway. Now, all of the Trilogy Networx locks and Architect Networx locks have wireless remote release built in. Now, unless something has changed in the last couple of weeks, the wireless Trilogy Networx storefront lock, the aluminum storefront lock, is the only one on the market that has a wireless remote release built into it. I don't have wires to add, any kind of remote release device. We do have the wireless embedded into the actual unit. So that makes it nice. If you have an aluminum storefront, I can add a wireless lock, and I can buzz people in if I need to without having to add an electric strike.
And which models is this button available for?
That is the DL or PDL 1300 NW. Okay, that's the actual product that we have with the storefront.
Okay, very good.
Yep. Now, one of the nice things about this is maybe someone out there has an existing T2 cylindrical or mortise or a T3 cylindrical or mortise lock. We can actually upgrade that lock, saving the either the lock chassis, the mortise lock body, the levers, the latches, all of that, and we can upgrade that to a Networx lock. It saves about 40 to 45% of the cost over a brand new lock. So if you have, say, one of your NAPCO Access Pro dealers has a customer that is wanting to now add access control, more robust access control to their building, and they have some of these old T2 and T3 locks on the doors, they don't have to rip them out and buy a whole new one. They can just replace a couple of parts, and now they can add that lock to their CA4K or MVP software. So it adds a real value to the lock because it is upgradable. Now, we also talk about these locks as being future-proof. Now, what we mean by that is the firmware in all of the Networx locks is upgradable. So we can take this firmware, new firmware that we can download from our website and push to the lock. And now whatever new features or functions that are available with this new firmware, you don't have to go buy a whole brand new lock to get that feature.
That's cool.
Again, the upgrade kits, we do have those available for the cylindrical and mortise. So there's your different part numbers. with the different types of credential usage, keypad or proxy keypad. Um, so that's your cylindrical mortise. Your I class is down at the bottom. We do have an I class mortise I don't have on there, but it's a PDL 8600, which will upgrade your mortise lock to an I class higher encrypted credential.
And do you see any of these locks going to MyFair, to the MyFair credential anytime soon?
That is in the works. So we do have in the works, we have a Deskfire and MyFair reader that the engineers are working on. I don't know when that's going to be available, but it will be a proprietary type card that these locks will read. So it won't be just anybody's MyFair Deskfire. It'll be proprietary to NAPCO.
Thank you.
Mhm. Now, we've talked a lot about the Trilogy networks, but I want to show you a couple of slides of some Architect locks. These Architects are more interior use than they are for exterior because the electronics is not weatherized. If you need something on the outside of a building or on a gate, go with the Trilogy version. It is weatherized. We're limited to the cylindrical and the mortise lock only with the Architects. The Architect Mortise has 300 plus lever designs, 15 to 20 different finishes, including the new US 19, which is the black finish, which is nice. So we do have those available. And they work with the same type of software and gateways and all that as the regular Trilogy Networx locks. So we do have both the I-class and the standard HID, multiple reader colors. So if you don't want the black on, a black reader on a black door, we do have a white or a silver option if you want that. We do have Bluetooth option with the Architect series. So if you want to use your phone, it is Bluetooth. It's not near field, but it is Bluetooth. And we do have an app that you can use with that. We also have that Bluetooth option in our Air Access or CA4K and MVP option as well. Then you can go in and design your own lock if you want to. So you can go into the website designalock.com. You can look at the different lever styles. You can actually put the different finishes on different types of doors. Maybe it's an oak door, light colored, or it's a dark colored door. You can kind of mix and match and make, what you want and what would actually look good. Your customers can go to that website and then it will allow them to print off the actual part number so they get that correct lock with the features that they want.
Can I still get gold?
I think that the US3, the polished brass, is still available. I would have to double check on that, but yeah, that is.
Just some of those retro fitting, those retros from the early '90s when it had all the.
Oh yeah. There's still a lot of some retirement villages or places like that have the bright brass. They want to stay with that. So yeah, we have put these Architect locks in some retirement homes, retirement villages, and they really like them because it is easily programmable for them, and the tenants have a credential that allows them in their door or in the laundry or wherever they want to go that they want to give them access.
So using the Marks design, you're able to customize any individual door using our products instead of using third-party products for the door.
That is correct. That is correct.
Awesome.
And with the mortise, the one thing I like about Marks USA, one of the other divisions in NAPCO, is they actually have a custom lever division or custom lever in-house, so they can make whatever you want. They have a scutcheon plate, so if you want a plate on the door, that has embossed in it maybe the apartment number or the unit number or whatever you want on it. They'll make it. They'll make it for you. So that is an option that is available.
That's incredible.
So now we're going up from our free software into our recurring monthly revenue option here. This is called Air Access. So I can take that same lock, that same Trilogy Networx or Architect Networx lock, now move over from DO Windows, which we've maybe outgrown, and we can go into Air Access. Now this is nice because it's cloud-based. I don't have to worry about on-premise software. We are using the NAPCO Starlink AT&T cellular connector that is actually our network. So it's a cellular radio that we're using as the network versus a standard IT network. Okay, so we don't have to worry about plugging into that IT network. But this allows us to not have to worry about internet service providers, no static IP addresses to set, which is pretty much standard now in the industry, that any device that's connected to the network really needs to have a static IP. We don't have to worry about that IT department, and opening ports so we can access it from offsite because it's cloud-based. So basically the way the system works is on the right-hand side of the screen, you have either your phone app, an iPad, a tablet, however you can access a website from a device, laptop, computer, desktop, goes to the cloud. You log into that website, goes into the cloud. When you make a change, it goes to the cell tower to the radio to gateway to lock. Okay, so that's the path. And then it's also reverse. If something happens at the lock and you say you need a notification of a door that's propped open, somebody props open a door after that time limit, it goes back from the lock to the gateway to radio to tower, then sends it out to either an email or text. So now we're stepping into the more enterprise level access control. Now it is limited with the Air Access. There are some limitations to it, but it's a nice, again, entry level type of enterprise access control where you now have access groups. You have all of the benefits or almost all of the benefits of an enterprise solution.
And how many gateways can I go on per? I'm assuming you'll get to that, or am I asking?
Well, yeah. I think I've got a slide in here on that.
Perfect. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Never hurts to ask a question. This system, Air Access, is really perfect for that small to medium-sized business. Now, we've capped the number of credentials that we can assign to a system by the radio, by the cellular radio. So we can have 500 or less credentials on a single cellular radio. Okay, so if a customer needs more, say they need 600 credentials, they have to have a second radio. Okay. Whether that radio is active or not, it has to be registered for that account, and that will unlock an extra 500 badges.
And is it 2 per site that we max out on, or can we do more?
No. You can have 15 or 20, but each one is going to be a monthly fee.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, if they want to pay, 10 times that monthly fee, then if they're willing to do that, I don't know that I would be, but, you might, might look at that cost difference per month as compared to a Continental or an MVP, CA4K, because of the cost per cellular communicator. Now, one of the things that this Air Access system does is it allows us for real-time monitoring, and it also allows that RMR for the dealers, and we can also set it up for central station notifications. So, say somebody kicks open a door that door is forced open, you can have that monitored real time by a central station, and then they can notify law enforcement. They can notify whoever's on the list. So it's no different than, say, your alarm system. As far as being monitored, you can have them monitor whatever you want. You can set it up to monitor just doors forced open, or doors forced open and lockdown and threat level activation. Whatever you want to be monitored, you can have that monitored.
And even your low batteries too, right? So if the customer gets
Yes,
low batteries, we can quickly address those um, issues.
yes. With the battery operated locks, of course, everybody's worried about, how do I know when the batteries get low? Well, on air access, I can actually set a text or an email notification. I don't know that I would send it to a central station, but maybe. But I can have multiple, say, text messages going out to multiple people that, hey, the office door has low batteries, and then it will you can address the batteries at that point rather than having to change them out, on a maintenance schedule once a year.
And
Um,
that's cool.
so, yep. So there's a lot of capabilities with the air access that we don't have with the DL Windows. We also have a phone app. Basically, it is a miniature version of the web portal. You can open your doors that you're assigned to. You can initiate lockdown threat levels. You can add personnel if you have the privileges. So that's one of the things about Air Access is I can assign privileges to each phone app user to where maybe they can only open their doors. They can't do anything else. Or if I'm the administrator, I can actually add personnel or issue lockdown or things like that. One of the things that we can't do with the app is actually see the event log. You would need to log into the web portal to be able to do that. Now, we can also, because we have that capability of changing the firmware, we can also go into CA4K or MVP, the web-based system. So with CA4K, that's for that full benefits of the enterprise. Okay. No reader or panel fees with CA4K. We can both use the hardwired panels and readers and the wireless locks. You can integrate, and mix and match how you need to. You can have your visitor management, payroll functions, elevator control. So this is full enterprise solution for that customer that really needs it. And again, I can take that same Networx lock and move it over from DL Windows or Air Access and put it into CA4K. So a really nice system that we can utilize and be able to use the same lock and have it in about 4 or 5 different scenarios or different softwares.
So one of the biggest questions that we see out there is what is again a design whatever, but what is the expected battery life on the locks if somebody wants to know that?
Well, okay, so we use a couple of different types of locks. The cylindrical, the mortise, and the exit trim on the Networx Trilogy side, we use 4 C-cell batteries versus the AA's that you would normally see in a Trilogy lock. On DL Windows, we get about 5+ year battery life. On Air Access and CA4K MVP, you're looking at probably 2.5 to 3 years, maybe a little bit more, depending on the usage. It's more on the usage of the lock than it is on the years. So we get around 90 to 100,000 cycles on a set of batteries. Now, the other locks they use AA batteries. Most of the Networx and Architech locks that don't use the C cells, they use 4 AA batteries. And again, you're going to get around 50 to 60,000 cycles out of those.
So from a install perspective, is there anything that I can do on site when I'm walking a site if I want to do a new install or an add-on? Are there tools that we can use to help with a site survey?
Yes, there are. There are a couple of tools. One is called a network signal meter. We call that an NSM. That's the part number AL-NSM. The meter actually reads the signal strength for the gateway. So because there is a limited distance on your gateways, and there's a lot of other factors that can affect the signal in a building. One of those factors is radio noise, because we are using a radio with our gateways. There can be some interference from other devices that use the same frequency, which there are not many that use the frequency that we use. But you can actually determine if there's noise, excess noise on a particular channel on that frequency. With our network signal generator, the AL-NSG, we can actually emulate for a site survey. There's nothing on this, no gateways or anything in the building existing, and I can put that that generator where I think the gateway needs to go, and then I can go test the signal for each of the doors. So there are a couple of vital site survey tools that you can use that I would highly recommend if you're going to be using this, these locks. Now, that not only for DO windows, but for any of the systems that use the wireless locks and the gateways, those are some vital tools that would definitely be worth the investment.
So do you think before we even get started and we start buying locks, that would maybe be a tool you would buy to start with?
Oh, definitely.
To do site surveys?
Oh, yes, yes. I mean, I helped a friend of mine do a site survey several years ago, and he was a little bit higher on the price because we added another gateway into the mix, but the customer was willing to pay that because he knew that it was going to work, because he walked with us and we showed him, here's your signal strength. There is a minimum depending on the system. If you're using DL Windows, I usually say the low to mid 30s would be a minimum signal strength on our signal meter. For MVP, CA4K, or air access, I would probably even go a little bit higher than that, maybe into the 40 or low 40s as your minimum, because we do have that real-time communication on those systems. DO Windows, it's on demand. So basically, when I program a lock in DO Windows, I can shut the software down, I can take the gateways down, I can do all of that. The locks are still going to work with the existing information that's in them. There's nothing that goes back to the software from the lock. Now, on these other systems, yes, you have that real-time back and forth communication, and you need a really good, really good signal strength to maintain that.
Well, and talking about the wireless locks in general, when you look at a big warehouse or a hospital or a school, and you have to run wires to the lock, by the time you buy our lock with our gateway, you're looking at the same price, but you're probably looking at cutting the install time in half. Would you say that's fair?
Oh, yeah, definitely fair. Because when you're installing access control, your biggest expense is the labor to pull the wire. You got to go through the drop ceiling. You got to go down the wall. You got to go through maybe a concrete filled frame. That's the nemesis of any installer, is that concrete filled frame, and maybe a cinder block wall. How do you get wires to that? You can use the channel mold and things like that, but this is a much cleaner, much easier install. 25 to 30 minutes. There are some tools out there that I would recommend for the different types of locks that you're installing. There's some jigs that have all the proper mounting holes. You just have to clamp it on the door, drill the holes, done, slap the lock on, and walk away. So no more paper templates, and things like that. But I'm a big proponent of jigs. So if I can get a jig for the lock that I'm installing, that's what I would do.
Well, and as many people don't know, you were a locksmith for many years.
Yes.
You've done this. So you've been in the field, you understand what's going on. And saying that our locks are native, so they're like having a panel on the door essentially. It's native to our software, so regardless if you're using DL Windows MVP or our enterprise server based, it's acting like a panel anyway. So it's acting in real time if you're using our gateways.
Yes. I mean, if you think about it, what are the components of an access control at a door? You have a reader, you have the locking device, and you have the panel. The panel can be central. It can have, multiple doors connected to it. But if you look at our lock, the Trilogy and Architect Networx locks, it is the panel, the reader, and the lock all in one piece. So you don't have to run those wires. You don't have to, do all of that. You just drill a couple extra holes in the door for most of the different units, and you put the lock on the door. Again, 20 to 30 minutes max. Once you understand what holes to drill and how to install it, it's a real easy lock to install.
Well, good. Well, I don't want to take up much more of your time, but appreciate it. Appreciate the time
Sure.
today, and I look forward to having more of these Q&As, either live or as we're doing now. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Sure. Anytime you need someone to talk about uh, networks, then yeah.